Welcome back to Scruffy Tales and today's video in which we will take a quick look at the Swedish Homeguard, the reservist force that makes up half of Sweden's armed forces. With the huge military exercise Aurora 23 kicking off in Sweden, with some 30,000 troops participating, of which the Swedish Homeguard makes up a large portion, I figured a video about the Swedish Homeguard is in order. Hemvärnet, the Home Guard or Home Defense, is the branch of the Swedish Armed Forces made up of volunteers that are essentially part-time soldiers, not to be confused with the regular army's part-time soldiers. The Home Guard was created during World War II in 1940, when local militia started popping up across the Swedish countryside, just in case Germany or Russia invaded, or if Britain invaded for that matter. And yes, that was indeed a possibility, but I will cover that in another video. The army and government felt this was a bit risky, that it could easily get out of hand with all these armed groups running around the country. So they were all organized into the Home Guard. You might call it a well-regulated militia that started out with 90,000 men. The Home Guard, as strong as 120,000 troops during the Cold War, was responsible for guarding and protecting vital installations and military depots of various sorts. They were also responsible for blowing up bridges if needed in their territories if the Soviets had invaded. The modern Home Guard has evolved a bit, partly because of necessity. Sweden has reduced its armed forces by quite a lot after the turn of the millennium, so much so that all of a sudden the Home Guard, today only 20,000 strong, make up half of the armed forces. Needless to say, the Home Guard had all of a sudden become vital for countering any threats that could risk Swedish sovereignty. The Home Guard is not only a fighting branch of the armed forces, but also an aid for the civilian population in times of peace. The Home Guard often help the police with search and rescue, because of the Home Guard's ability to quickly assemble dozens of people, hundreds even when needed, with access to proper vehicles, radios, and dogs. For the same reasons, the Home Guard is often called in during natural disasters or similar catastrophes, where they can support firefighters or rescue workers in general. The Home Guard fills a very important role in Swedish society, helping out during disasters in peacetime and protecting the borders in case of conflict. So the Home Guard is not only about playing soldier in the woods, it is about being ready to get called in if the country needs you to help out during forest fires, floods, blizzards, searching for missing people in the woods, or helping the police locate a body in a murder investigation. Perhaps most famously, the Home Guard helped fighting the great fires raging through Swedish forests of 2018. You sign up to help Swedish society when help is needed the most, and it doesn't matter if you're a man or a woman. All that matters is that you are willing to help. The will to fight and the will to help is the most important attribute of the Home Guard. And the will to fight is key. That ordinary citizens are ready and willing to fight is essential. Just look at Ukraine. The will to resist, the will to fight, the will to not surrender, the fighting spirit of the people is absolutely essential for a country's survival. And here is where the Home Guard fills an important role of the Swedish Armed Forces. In January of 2022, the Home Guard was roughly 20,000 strong. By the end of the same year, another 20,000 applications had been sent in to the Home Guard. If everyone is allowed in, the Home Guard will double in a few months' time. That will to resist, to fight, to defend Sweden is what will keep the enemy at bay. The Home Guard has a couple of key roles to fulfill in this day and age. As before, the Home Guard is supposed to secure vital locations and prevent the enemy from conducting sabotage. Also, perhaps a bit less known to ordinary people, is the Home Guard's role as the quick reaction force. If enemy activity happens on Swedish soil, or about to happen in the form of an amphibious landing to make it dramatic, then the closest Home Guard battalion is responsible to face that threat and either hold or slow down the enemy until the armed forces can respond in full. Or let's say we find ourselves in an all-out conflict with hostile troops securing a foothold on Swedish soil, then the Home Guard can be tasked to perform guerrilla warfare, hit-and-run attacks, gather intelligence and so forth, to slow down the enemy, impede his ability to maneuver, and to inform the armed forces of how and where the enemy is moving its troops. Now, you might ask yourself if the Home Guard can do all of these things, not being full-time soldiers, being ordinary citizens most of the time. Some being fresh out of conscription, others being well over 50 years old. The will to fight determines if the Home Guard can do these things. And that, the will to fight, is, to be honest, in your hands. Would you fight an enemy army that invaded your country? I think most of you would. Most of you would fight an invading force, tooth and nail, and that is why the Home Guard can do what is required of it when push comes to shove. So let's start with the beginning of an escalating conflict. The Home Guard secures vital locations. Who are the most likely enemies the Home Guard will face during these months of build-up towards all-out war? Foreign agents, spies, saboteurs, enemy special forces. Elite operators are the Home Guard's most likely opponent. Which doesn't sound like a fair matchup, does it? Elite killers versus jolly amateurs. By now, some of you might laugh and think it's just silly to expect the Home Guard to succeed against such opposition. Except it's not as straightforward as it may sound. Special forces operate in small units. That means the Home Guard will definitely outnumber the enemy at any location during these initial months of escalating hostilities. The enemy does not want to end up in a firefight. If they are only 4 or 6 men strong, having a single friendly wounded or killed could be catastrophic. So elite units such as these want to sneak in and sneak out, which works to the Home Guard's advantage. The Home Guard has today the means and ability to prevent special forces from succeeding with sabotage, by being visible, with patrols, relying on dogs, and with various technological aids. The amateurs of the Home Guard can prevent the elite from succeeding with their mission. Not only that, the Swedish Home Guard conducts training with US Special Forces to understand how Special Forces will try and reach an objective and how to best counter them, find them, and capture or kill them. And this is not a secret. This is not me revealing some secret cooperation between the armed forces of Sweden and the US. This is regularly shared by the Home Guard on Instagram, of all places, and there is even a video about it on YouTube where a US operator is interviewed. And the Home Guard does similar training with other units as well. As you can see, the Home Guard is pretty serious about this important task. That is all about keeping the elite of the enemy away from Swedish vital locations, whatever they may be, both in training and with the equipment. And the Home Guard has the capability of succeeding with this vital mission, but it relies on your will to succeed. With such opposition, the moment you relax, they will slip through and you will fail. Then we have the next phase, where the enemy is coming for Sweden with paratroopers and amphibious landing craft, Or maybe it's a suspected submarine sneaking around in Swedish waters and there's a possibility that attack divers might come ashore. Then the local home guard could be called in, day or night doesn't matter, to quickly assemble and face the threat until reinforcements can be brought in. The home guard has the advantage of being made up of local men and women who know the terrain, who know every back road, every shortcut, all the best vantage points. They know who to call to keep a close look at a fjord or a bridge or a stretch of road or shoreline. This allows the home guard to quickly and efficiently maneuver into position to counter whatever the threat may be. And how can the home guard counter armored vehicles coming ashore? The home guard have two trusted aids in dealing with enemy vehicles, what we call in Sweden GRG and P-skott, internationally known as the Carl Gustav recoilless rifle and the AT-4. With these weapons, the home guard can defeat any ground vehicle that isn't a main battle tank. And if we are to believe what is reported from Ukraine, well, then these weapons can even destroy Russian tanks. And even if the enemy has tanks, well, for instance, the home guard on the island of Gotland have been trained in the use of the Swedish-designed weapon system RB-57, perhaps better known around the world as the N-Law, one of the most deadly tank killers in Ukraine. So the home guard has the ability to engage any ground target it might have to deal with, and the ability to deal with these targets quite effectively at that. Again, this is not a secret by any means. That the home guard on Gotland got to train on the N-Law was made very public. Let's say the enemy overruns Swedish positions. They arrive en masse and Sweden is hard pressed to halt the advance. Then the home guard could be used to slow down the enemy, harass his scouting units, ambush his support units, and gather intelligence on the enemy's location, what roads he is using, and where he is sending troops and armored vehicles. And again, local knowledge is essential here. The home guard doesn't need reconnaissance, because the home guard are made up of locals who know the land. They know the dirt roads through the woods. They know the shortcuts. They know which farmer you can hide at, who to call to get information on enemy movement, etc. The members of the home guard know where to conduct an ambush and where to hide. Knowledge that is very useful for Swedish and Allied special forces. The home guard would not only harass the enemy on their own, but support Swedish and Allied elite units by helping them with transports and providing them with local knowledge of the area. Again, the home guard trains together with elite units for this very reason, so that both the special forces and the home guard can learn how everyone operates, what vehicles are available and what weapons might be used, and what tactics that works best to defeat the enemy. The home guard is vital for the modern Swedish defense, no doubt about it, and the equipment and training provided is evidence for that. So if you want to actually be a part of the defense of Sweden, talking to fellow Swedes at this point obviously, reach out to the home guard and see what you can do to join. Because you will have the chance to help civilians when they need help the most, and you might just maybe get the chance to train with some of the most professional soldiers on the planet to better understand how to defeat special forces while defending vital locations, and to better understand how to defeat a superior enemy relying on guerrilla warfare. And if we have an international audience, since I'm doing this in English and not Swedish, as you can see, the Swedish Home Guard is a versatile and important part of the Swedish Armed Forces. It provides by far the most soldiers, it has access to very capable firepower, and units of the Home Guard have exercises together with elite soldiers to better understand how to counter such troops when they are the enemy and how to support them when they are our allies. And the soldiers all have civilian lives with civilian jobs. You have carpenters, plumbers, security guards, math teachers, kindergarten teachers, scientists, business owners, professors, bus drivers, mechanics, bartenders, accountants, men and women of all ages who all bring a wide range of knowledge, know-how, and experiences regular soldiers cannot offer. And when brought together to solve a task, they can all rely on their civilian experiences to help them in doing what they need to achieve militarily. Next, we could take a quick look at the main weapon of the Home Guard. Admittedly, it's not fancy, it's nothing special. It is, however, functional, durable, and without a doubt, deadly as hell. The AK-4, the modified G3 battle rifle, is a robust, heavy, and no-nonsense rifle. It is powerful with its 7.62 round, going through bricks, concrete, and plate armor with ease. With an aim point instead of iron sights, they have been removed altogether. It is accurate and allows for good aim both at dusk and dawn. Heavy, some might say, but that weight works wonders when used to cave in an opponent's face. The AK-4 is old, but it works. It hits what you aim at and it won't let you down. With the new adjustable stock, it has become the perfect battle rifle, the pinnacle of the G3 family. Funnily enough, not that many days ago, it was announced that the Swedish regular army would go back to adopting the AK-4 and retire the 5.56 AK-5 while waiting for the new and modern AK-6 family of rifles. Because by all accounts, Sweden will use a brand new battle rifle as its main frontline weapon in the future. So, the AK-4 will outlive the AK-5 by the looks of it. I just find that a bit funny, but it also tells you something about the AK-4. It works, it is durable, it is functional, and it won't let you down. And you can shoot an enemy to death with it with ease at 200 meters, and you can beat an enemy to death with it with ease at point-blank range. Doing a video like this is a bit tricky because you have to think about what you can talk about and what isn't appropriate. Because, quite frankly, some stuff is none of your FM business until you've joined the Home Guard. At the same time, the best way to get people interested in the Home Guard and to help people understand what it is about is to talk about it. At least that's how I feel. Which is why the Home Guard has made it public, I suspect, that they do train with US Special Forces. That is why they've announced on Instagram that the Home Guard will get the latest, most advanced GRG/Carl-Gustaf launcher. That is why they made it public that the Home Guard on Gotland trained on how to use the NLAW. And this is my little contribution to that effort, making you understand a little bit more what the Home Guard is about. It's about helping civilians when they need help the most, and it's about stopping the enemy if they ever dare to set foot on our soil. So with Aurora 23 kicking off, I hope this will help people understand a little bit more about what the Home Guard does, what it provides to the Swedish Armed Forces, and how important it is for ordinary citizens to show that they have the will to help and the will to fight. With that, I hope you found this interesting and maybe even educational. And that will have to be it for now, and I hope I will see you around.